Hi, everybody. This is Melinda Pollen. I am the Brown County 4-H Youth Development Educator, and today we're coming to you with another design engineering challenge. I'm excited to be here again with my coworker. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm John. I am the Brown County 4-H STEM Outreach Coordinator.
Awesome. Today we're introducing a new engineering challenge with 4-H. It is a tower challenge, and it goes along with some of the other things that we might have been doing in some of our previous challenges with our bridges. So we're going to take it to the next level with the challenge that we have here you today, and building, instead of a bridge that goes the long way, we're going to encourage you to build vertically in a tower. So a couple on the screen, you'll see a couple of towers that you might have seen or might recognize. The first one is the Space Needle. This one right here on the screen, this is your Space Needle, and that's in Seattle. The next one over here is the CN Tower, and that is in Toronto, Canada. And the picture on the far right of your screen is probably the most notable tower that we have. That is our Eiffel Tower that's located in Paris. You'll notice that a lot of them have similar structures. We'll talk about what makes a tower strong as we lay out kind of the challenges that we have for you today. There's towers seen all over our communities, all over parts of the state, the country, and our world. And today we're going to challenge you to build one of your very own in your own house using materials you have laying around.
Hey, there's a few words that we're going to be talking about, and we'll go over them with you right now. The first one is compression. So that's a pushing force, squeezing force acting inward. A tension, that's a pulling or stretching or acting outward force. Torsion, that is where a force, torque, is applied. And then there's shear, and that's where there are pushing and pulling in opposite directions. So you twist this one way and twist the other end the other way, like that, and that'd be shear.
And John, if I remember right, a couple of them, torsion and shear, can really create cracking and bending and twisting and make things unstable, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Awesome. So there are a couple more words we're going to introduce with this challenge.
Sure. The first one is bend, and that means to curve. Bending occurs when a straight material becomes curved. So like if I took this craft stick and I pressed down on it, pretending I was gravity, and it bent, the top portion of this would be under compression. The bottom part would be under tension. It'd be pulling apart. There's also to buckle. So if we put enough pressure on this piece right here, eventually it buckles. Brace, that is a structural support to strengthen and stiffen a structure. Let's say I had a square box made out of cardboard. It's pretty sturdy up and down vertically, but I can still move it side to side. I can compress it. If I took a craft stick and put it in the corners, that would be a brace, and that would stiffen up that box. A base, that's the structure that your tower is built on. Usually, the larger the base, the wider, the stronger the structure in general, and the more load structure can hold. If you remember the Eiffel Tower, that had a really wide base, and it slowly slimmed up and got narrower and narrower as it went up. There you go. And then load, and that's the weight distribution throughout a structure. So as you notice, the Eiffel Tower had that wide base, and as it went up, it got more narrow and narrow, almost like a triangle. And that's a good shape for load or weight distribution.
So we've talked about this a couple of times, everyone. We've talked about what we call the 4-H engineering design process, where we gather information, we develop solutions, we make a prototype, and then we test it and improve it. Again, it's that cycle that we do all of the time in almost everything that we do. We're going to use that same engineering design process as we think about the next challenge for you, which is building a tower as tall as we can get it without it falling over. We're going to just gather information. John just shared with us some really great terminology that can help us create braces and carry the load. We'll design some solutions and we'll make the prototype. Then we're going to test it and we'll see how we can make it improved. So let me tell you what the challenges that we have for you. We're challenging you to build a vertical structure, a tower, and see how tall you can make it go before it collapses. If you'd like it to make it even more challenging in your own world, try adding coins or weight to the top of it to see how much that your tower itself can support before it collapses. And of course, there have to be some guidelines. So a couple of guidelines that we have for you. We want your structure to be freestanding, meaning that it can't be attached to your support surface. Like if you're building on a table, can't tape it down to the table, or that doesn't count. It cannot be touching the ground in any other places. If it does, it's considered tipped over. Only the base can be touching your support surface. So now that said, John, I don't see anything in any of the rules that we'll get at in a little that says how small or big your base can be. So you can make your base as large or as small as you'd like it to be, but the only thing that can be touching your structure, your vertical structure, is your base, and your base is the only thing that can touch the floor. On the screen, you'll also see you can't physically touch or support it with your hand or a stick or anything else that to make it stand up straight. And any coins that are a weight that is added to the structure has to be above your base floor. So it can't be on your base, it has to be above your base floor. And as always in 4-H rule, if there is something that you'd like to do and the above rules don't say you can't, by all means, y'all, it's fair game and go ahead and try it.
Great. We're going to go over some possible supplies. Again, this is just suggested use. If you don't have one of these materials, don't feel like you have to go out to the store and buy them or get them or anything like that. Be resourceful, look around your house, find what you can. Like if you don't have the pencils, use crayons instead. And again, these are suggested guidelines. Try to use 2 or 3 or 4, at least that many of them, just to try and work with different materials and how they might connect. But that doesn't mean you have to use every one here. This is just a guideline for you. The tools that you'll need for this one are the scissors and a measuring device, ruler, measuring tape, etc. Those cannot be used in the building. So you cannot use your yardstick to build your tower. Things to consider while doing this. Material orientation. Just like we were showing before with the forces, if I turn this craft stick like this and press on the middle, it's pretty easy to bend. If I'm holding it like this and try to bend it that way, it's a lot harder. So how I put that, how I place that in my project can make a big difference. How can I alter my materials to make them stronger? I can take a piece of paper that's pretty flimsy and roll it up, and now I have something that's called a column, right? Now I've changed it. That actually can hold quite a bit of weight if I push down on that. Still, it's not very sturdy this way, but now that I have it rolled up, it's a little bit more sturdy. And you can do that. Explore with the other materials and see how you can do that. You can also use one material to make another material stronger. Like that piece of paper or cardstock, you could attach straws to the edge or pencils to the edge, opposite edges, and that would make that paper a lot more sturdy in that direction. Think of shapes. I already mentioned the columns. Also think about triangles and squares and how you can use them in your design. Those are good shapes to think about and use. We do have a picture later on that kind of shows that a little bit. Also remember, your structure will only be as strong as your weakest connections. Take the time to make sure that when you're attaching things that you try to make it as good a connection as you can. If you have one bad connection on one part of it, it's going to affect your overall structure. And saying that, most structures fail by buckling. that was back in the terms when we were talking about, that's usually when something straight like this and the force is applied and then it buckles, kind of like your knee does, that bending right there. So make sure that when you're building, if you have one part of your structure that's taking all of the load or most of the load compared to the other parts, your structure is probably going to fail quicker and won't hold as much weight. Try to distribute that load throughout your structure evenly.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, John, for explaining some of the things that I might not have considered. Maybe our viewers hadn't considered either. Now is your time, everyone, to get started on your building. We want you to design and to build and to test, observe your results and see what happens. We want you to reflect on what happened and why you think it happened that way. If your structure, as John mentioned, buckles, where did it buckle? Pay attention to that and try to improve it. And try to make it better and apply that again. How would you do it differently? If you have enough supplies, keep trying it. Remembering what we learned in our first two engineering challenges with our basic builds with toothpicks and marshmallows or gumdrops. And then the last challenge, when we had all of those other supplies that we got to build our large bridges with, use some of the things that we might have learned there to apply them here in this challenge as well as we build up.
That's great advice, Melinda. You can really do that through any of these challenges or a lot of the ones that you find online or do in school. If you take the time to reflect and think about what did I learn from that and then apply it to the next project you do, you'll be surprised at how much of that carries over and over.
Awesome. So there's a couple of towers on the screen, John. Do you want to explain them to us?
Yeah, this is actually a picture, I believe, of the same two towers. My fifth grader did these just the other day using the same materials and everything else. I think this right here, he used the triangle. He used some triangles. And then his idea was to use these note cards right there. Oh, you can't see me pointing at them. The note cards right here and here as holders for the pennies. He actually did get some on there. I didn't get to take the picture until it broke and fell apart, but he did have fun doing this. He spent probably a good 45 minutes using the different materials. I'm not sure how high he got. You can see his older sister did one. Barely you can see it in the background. And I believe that one got 48 inches tall. And they had quite a few pennies above the base floor. So.
Oh, and I just love looking at the table of this image here because it's the reality of what my house looks like, maybe yours too, and that we just dumped all of this potential supplies on the table, right? We have Q-tips and we have binder clips, there's paper, there's some straws, there's some mailing labels and a roll of tape, and there's some yarn and some Q-tips. I even see some cotton balls there. Some of the things we might not have a use for, but they might be really helpful for us if we think about it. So get out whatever you have laying around your house. There's no right or wrong way to build these towers. It's your creativity. And if there's more than one person in your house, all of you build it and see if you can come up with different ideas as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm lucky enough where all my kids can handle cleanup now.
Excellent, excellent. So after you finish your building, even as you continue, as you start testing, get the cameras ready and get ready to start measuring and take a couple of pictures. What we'd really love to see is either connected to this video on our Facebook page or on any of our social media pages that are out there. Take a photo, take a video, testing how much your structure, your bridge, the top of that might hold for you. Share the photos and the videos, if you wouldn't mind, on social media and use the hashtag BC4HWI, WI4H, and inspire kids to do. What that does for us is it helps us create a community of like-minded design engineering out there. We'd love to see some pictures as they come in as you get them done. If you have questions, feel free to message us on Facebook. John and I will be available and we'll respond to you. We just hope you now get out there and start enjoying and doing and really getting at building your tallest tower. Challenge is on. We can't wait to see your reactions. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will be back, I'm sure, with the next challenge for you shortly. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.